Everybody, thank you so much for joining us for the MBA virtual information session. My name is Tom Kresh. I'm our Director of Graduate Admissions here at Commonwealth University, and I will be the host for the event tonight. This event is being recorded. It should take probably around 30 or 40 minutes. Whether you're watching live or you're watching the recording, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us. I think this will be a great opportunity for you to preview your experience in our MBA program. I know our program has a lot to offer, so we're really excited for this. But before we go any further, Dr. Mariani, would you mind introducing yourself?
Sure, I'm Dr. Rhonda Mariani. I am the MBA coordinator, and I'm also a professor in marketing in the Ziegler College of Business. So hopefully I can answer some questions this evening. I'm just going to go over a little bit about the program, and then we'll go from there. And I think you can see my screen, correct?
We can, yeah, it's on the last slide. But
Okay.
Dr. Mariani, before we start, would you mind letting everyone know your area of interest, your subject matter expertise, what's your specialty?
Sure. So my specialty is in digital marketing and social media specifically. I've been doing it a very long time. I also came from industry, and my doctorate is in marketing and management. I also oversee, we have a student-run agency open to both MBA students and undergraduate students, and we work with live clients. You'll have an opportunity to work one-on-one with clients. So I oversee that and manage that with the students, and it's a wonderful opportunity. But my research primarily has been in artificial intelligence. Obviously, now I teach a really neat practicum course for the MBA students about artificial intelligence throughout business. So we look at all the different functions of business. So it's not just a generative AI kind of make a pretty picture type thing. We really start to look at the strategy and the different types of agents and things like that we would use in business. So that's pretty much my background, and
Yeah.
most of my scholarships in that area too.
And I will say, as a follower of our MBA program LinkedIn profile, a tremendous amount of great content gets posted there. I would
Yeah.
strongly endorse anyone who's considering our MBA program to follow along Dr. Mariani's MBA account. They do a tremendous job. But yeah, Dr. Mariani, if you wouldn't mind kicking off the presentation, I think we're ready to go.
Yes, sure. I have to figure out what I did here. Is it okay if I leave it like this? Because apparently I'm
Yeah.
not doing good with share screen. So let me bring it up to the beginning. So welcome everybody. It's nice to meet you. Like I said, at the end, we'll have plenty of time for questions. But as I'm going through the slides, if you have any questions, put them in the chat and we'll come back to them. So just a little bit about the program. It's an awesome program. I mean, of course, I'm partial to it. But we're AACSB accredited program. We have several concentrations in the program. We offer grad assistantships. It's just a great program to how would I say, take a vertical or a horizontal move, whether you're in finishing your undergrad degree or whether you're trying to advance your career. An MBA is a very strategic degree to use, for yourself. So again, we're AACSB accredited. It is the highest business accreditation you can get. So that's very, very important for us, and we're very proud of that. The program and you'll see some of the slides of information. I'll kind of go in and out of the slides, but you can finish it in 1 year fast track. You can finish it in 2 years. You have up to 5 years to complete the program. If you are an undergraduate student, you can start it early. And by the time you graduate, if you plan it correctly with your undergrad, you would only have 2 semesters left, and then you would have your MBA. So it's a really neat structured program in that sense. It's only 36 credits. It goes very, very fast. You'd be surprised. It is broken up into 6 weeks each class. So for instance, if you were doing fast track, you would take 4 classes a semester. You would go fall, spring, and summer. So we do have summer classes. And you would take 2 6-week courses in the beginning and then 2 6-week courses in the last half of the semester. There is an exit exam, and I'll kind of show you the curriculum in a minute. There's an exit exam and an exit survey that we do for the program at the end. So it goes very, very fast. And another thing, an MBA is for anyone. It really is. It's open to any major, it's open to anyone who, depending where you are in your career, it's a very versatile type degree, and it really sets you up for leadership and management positions. So
Yeah,
again,
and
we
I know.
talked a little bit. Whoops,
And
sorry.
Dr. Marion, yeah, and I'm sorry, because one of the things that's covered on the previous slide is the idea that you don't have to have a business degree in order to apply for the MBA program. And I know that's a very common question we get saying, my background is in communications. Will I even be considered for an MBA? And
Yeah.
the reality is absolutely. Can you talk about what that process is like for a student who has a non-business undergrad integrating into an MBA curriculum?
Yeah, and it's actually a great question. We actually have students from many different careers, many different disciplines. Social sciences, I've had doctors, two doctors in the program. I actually have one in the program right now, so it would be a third doctor. So it's open to anyone that is interested in executive or leadership positions. I mean, that's the whole idea. So if you think of any business, whether you're a museum curator or you're an entrepreneur or you're running, a Fortune 500 company, you need leaders, you need business leaders, and you need to understand the different functions or, like finance, accounting, marketing of business. And that's what an MBA program does. And that's why it matches up very well with any type of career point you're at or any type of undergraduate degree. So we have, like I said, we have students from emergent media, social sciences, psychology, our business students, and then career oriented. We have students from local, if you're local to the area, Geisinger. We have students that are the doctors blow my mind. We also have the MSN MBA program with our nursing students. So it's a very, very rounded degree for individuals that seek leadership positions. It also, and you'll see in some of the slides, it also contributes to a higher pay scale. And it's something, it's not where you get the degree and all of a sudden, you're in the triple digits, but if you're an undergrad and you get the degree, you're going to start with a higher salary. And if you're someone that's already a professional who's out there, it is a good salary boost. It's also great for advancement. So it offers a lot of different things now.
Yeah, and
MBA.
oftentimes the master's or the MBA is typically the academic credential that most companies, most
Yes.
organizations are going to be looking
Mhm.
for management level positions. So oftentimes this is one of the things you need to have in order to be considered for that next level. So it does
Absolutely.
unlock a lot of opportunity, really regardless of the field that you're in.
Yeah, and a lot of our graduates are doing really well out there. We have some working for ADP, the alarm security. I mean, the marketing, they go into digital marketing, just leadership roles. There's quite a few, and I highly recommend following our LinkedIn page. We're going to be spotlighting some alumni and different things like that. It's really amazing some of the career opportunities you do get. So it is very valuable. Some of them go into education too. So it's a very broad degree. Yeah, I just had someone alumni just get hired by a college. She's doing administration in there. So pretty neat stuff. Um, so again, I kind of touched on the accelerated MBA. It is perfect for undergrads, but how would I say? You have to, if it's something you're thinking about doing, you want to definitely talk to your advisor and also come and see me as early as possible. Because the way that it works really well, you have free electives, right? Or you have business electives if you're in the College of Business. You want to save those electives. That way, in your last semester, you could take 4 grad classes. And then once you graduate with your bachelor's, you'll get that first, you'll go to graduation and everything. And then only 2 semesters after that, you'll have your MBA and you get to participate in a second graduation. So if you are interested in the accelerated MBA, whether you're at Mansfield, Bloomsburg, or Lock Haven, reach out to your advisor and reach out to me at the same time. And we can kind of meet and go through the steps that you need to take. So that way you're prepared in that senior year. But all you need is a 3.0 and just an interest in, wanting to pursue that higher degree. And we'll kind of chat and, kind of discuss where you want to go with it, and different things like that. And just a little bit more information. So really it's any major again, senior status to participate in taking the classes. But again, I can't emphasize enough that you'd want to, touch base with me in at least your junior year. 3.0 GPA, you would just complete the online graduate application. There's no fee for that. And then you would get what's called a provisional admit. And all that means is that you're finishing up your bachelor's while you started graduate classes. Again, up to 4 classes, and then you only have the 2 semesters after that. But the key there is to connect with me for sure, so that we can kind of plan a little bit your classes in your last 2 years. So we have several MBA concentrations, which we're really proud of. We have accounting, we have analytics, healthcare management, we have leadership and human resources, we have marketing, strategic, global, and decisions, and we also have a general MBA, and that's a very popular one. They're all very popular, but the general business is really for individuals that might already be out in their career and they just want to, take different classes. But the way it works is each concentration is 3 classes. So if you decide I'm going into marketing, you'll take 3 classes for your concentration. Same thing with analytics, accounting, etc. With your general business, if you decide to go that route, we call it the build your own. And it's an opportunity that you can take any 3 graduate courses within the Commonwealth system. So you could take something in sports management, you could take something in communications, you can take any of the business courses. So as long as it's a graduate level course, you can take up to 3 of them. And I do tend to have, I have a lot of students that actually do that because, they're not sure, they're getting good core business through the MBA itself, the core classes itself, and then they kind of dabble in different areas of interest. And it's been very, very successful. So they're all amazing concentrations, but we do, it's one of the things that makes us stand out is that general business where you can kind of pick those 3 classes and curate it. As far as the curricula, there are 27 credits, and the classes that you'll be taking is listed here. So financial and managerial accounting, so it's an accounting class. You have a finance class, management class, IT class here, strategic information and technology. You'll have a marketing foundation class, which is all about digital, aspects of marketing. Law, ethics, and public policy. It's a great class. It really kind of gives you the legal perspective of business. Operations, supply chain, logistics, any of those fields, you get a little bit of that in that class. Of course, data management. And then, of course, you have a good leadership class. And then we have the MBA Practicum, the 9th class. And these are all your core curriculum classes here. And that class is really special because you can do an internship with that class. You can do kind of a thesis. But most of the time, we have a class, depending when you start, in the summertime. And for instance, this past summer, we did the class in artificial intelligence and business. So it's usually a really special curated class that is, how would you say, connected with the business trends at that time. And of course, AI right now is a big deal. And then you have your outcomes assessment exam and survey for accreditation purpose. There's no charge or credit. It's a pass fail. And in order to have AACSB status, we have to do things like that so that we can constantly monitor our program, which is important. Again, we have our concentrations that I just went over, 3 classes. So you take nine classes for the core, which includes that practicum, and then you have 3 classes for your concentration. And the way it's set up, if you do, let's say you do 1-year track, you would take 3 core classes and a concentration class, let's say in fall. And spring, you would repeat the same thing. And in summer, you would do the same thing. If you were doing the 2-year plan, you would just do 2 classes each semester. So you would do a concentration and a concentration, first and second half, and then go to your second year. And then in your second year, you will usually do a core class and then your concentration class. So we do try to split it up. Sometimes it depends on students' plans too, because sometimes I have students have plans in the fall. They're like, oh, Dr. Mariani, can I take classes in the beginning of the semester? And sometimes they do. They might do 3-1, but traditionally it's a 2-2 course load if you do the 1 year, and for the 2-year, a 1-1 course load. Course delivery is 100% online. It's asynchronous. We use the Brightspace or Desire to Learn platform. But I will say this, all our faculty have office hours, and they are highly available to you. I think that's the best way to put it. They're there. So even though you're taking the course online asynchronous, if you do need help or, have a question or something like that, that's a little bit more than an email, or something in the, inside the learning platform, you can go to their office hours. They have them weekly, which is really, really nice. And a lot of times they'll even meet you outside of office hours if they're able to. But the asynchronous mode primarily means that you'll have assignments due each week. Okay, every professor is different how they set them up, but you'll have assignments due each week. And basically, you work at your own pace. And it's very, very successful. The biggest thing you have to worry about with something like this is just your time management. You just want to make sure, okay, assignments are due on Friday, let me make sure I get that in. But if you work at 1 o'clock in the morning or 1 o'clock in the afternoon, that's up to you. So it works really nice if you're working full time, if you're still an undergrad. So it's a very, very flexible program. So, and it's very, very, this is a great slide. So practical approach. So I already mentioned the agency, right? We're working with real clients. We just got a letter from the Columbia Montour Chamber of Commerce. They're going to be working directly. We're already doing a project with them, with different businesses and with them themselves. So it's up to you again. It's up to how much you want to put in, but there's an opportunity to work with real clients and engage in real problem solving and different things like that. We have the MBA practicum. Again, you can do an internship or you can take a very dynamic class. All the instruction is applied. For instance, I teach the Marketing 510 class. I use GPTs, artificial intelligence GPTs. You'll interact with those agents that I build, and you're going to have this real, how would I say, a really robust opportunity to work with artificial intelligence in your curriculum, in your coursework. A lot of course embedded projects, so like simulations, real world type things that you can engage in, and then of course leadership development. You'll get that from all your classes. You'll take a class in leadership, but I must say a lot of the students, like when I read the surveys and stuff, there's a lot of leadership components in everything you're doing, management, and stuff like that. So career options, it's everything. This is the short list here. Because the degree is so diverse, it opens you up to all different types of careers, right? So as I said, I had a museum curator one time that wanted to manage a museum, essentially is what they wanted to do. They ended up moving from director and they were able to advance, vertically into a higher position. So it really is for everybody. And some of the, the main ones you'll see is the marketing manager, financial analyst, consulting, insurance. So it's healthcare, right? It's many, many fields, as far as career options and where our graduates ends up. So, like I said, this is definitely the short list of what an MBA can bring you. The job look for MBAs are amazing, and it's even better, depending what field you're coming from. So if you're coming from information technology, marketing, different fields, they're amazing. But if you're just looking for leadership roles, management type of, they're equally as good. So it is a degree that, with experience, right? And depending where you are in your career, you can make very, very good income with an MBA. It becomes a real asset for you. And this is just some data that I talk about.
And this is where too you have to look at your your graduate degree, your MBA. This is an investment in your future career. This is an investment that will pay dividends. And while it will be a lot of work and it will be very difficult, it will be worth it in the end. It's like it's delayed gratification, it's short term inconvenience for long-term gain. But again, it is worth it. One of the things we talked about too is, you will have, Dr. Mariani, people from across the professional spectrum that are applying. It could be, accelerated students who are just wrapping up their undergraduate degree, all the way through people who are well into their career and looking to complete their MBA. The reality is, regardless of where you may be on that professional spectrum in terms of experience, this degree can do something for everybody.
Yeah.
And even for our students who are coming right out of undergrad, they may be wondering, well, geez, I'm going to have all these fancy degrees and I'm not going to have any professional experience. And the reality is that's not exactly true, because we talked about the practical approach. You talked about the internship. You talked about a lot of
Mhm.
course embedded projects. So you're going to walk away with these resume builders in addition to the degree. So it's got something for everyone. But whenever I see the job outlook page, it's just like, it's just a reminder that, like, yes, it's going to be a lot of work, but man, it will be worth it in the end.
Yeah, and it was a good point too, and it made me think of something. We, since our teaching is very applied, we also have a big focus on certifications or certificates. So some of the classes in the core, you're going to get certified in, different marketing, digital marketing. You're going to get certified in Power B. Some of you might be familiar with that, in some of the information classes. So it is a resume builder, So even if you're doing something part-time, finishing up your undergraduate degree, everything is just a plus to it. So I mean, depending where you're at and when you graduate and kind of what your journey looks like, it's only positive, right? It's like anything. And I know I always say give 3 years, 3 years of working somewhere, you'll be doing very well. Part of it is and what you put into it. And then the other part is the degree, AACSB accreditation, Ziegler College of Business, the faculty relationships you'll get to build. So you'll have everything on our side to help support you. And then it's how far you decide to take it, which is very, very important. So job outlook is fantastic right now. Everything's going very well. We do have alumni. As I said, I know some recent ones of working in college administration. Another one with ADP, right? ADP for
Yeah.
the
Yep. ADP.
paychecks. That's what they know,
Mhm.
the paychecks. Yes. And as you can see here, we have coordinate a lot in healthcare. We have a lot of students that are in some form of the healthcare field, marketing automation, assistant directors, leadership roles. So it's really a diverse opportunity, of employment, I guess you could put it that way. Let's see. Again, so just if you're interested in accelerated, if you're already in your career, it's very simple for you. All you have to do is go online. You can reach out to me first if you want to, pop in during my office hours to discuss further. But you would just apply online through the portal. And then for anyone who's doing their, finishing up their undergrad, you would just apply online too, but pick the accelerated option. And at that point, you'll also determine if you're interested in 1 year, 2 year. You could pick your concentration. If you're not sure about the concentration, pick the general business. You can't go wrong with it. If you end up taking 2 marketing classes and you love it, we can change it down the road to marketing and you finish the 3rd class. So I can't stress enough how flexible we are as a program and how much we understand both students, and we also understand very much working adults, and we understand work-life balance quite a bit. So that's an important thing too. So any information, you can reach out to myself and Tom here. We're happy to help. I don't know if anybody has questions. I do really, at the beginning, I stumble, and then at the end, I get my groove.
No, you did great. You did great, Dr. Mariani. And I know,
Oh,
so as we transition into the Q&A part, and for anyone who's
yes.
watching live, you can feel free to put your questions into the Q&A or the chat, and I'll get them to Dr. Mariani.
Definitely.
But I know one of the questions we always get is about the online coursework. Um,
Yes.
And I know we talked about that earlier in the presentation, but can you walk us through what the courses are like, whether it's synchronous, asynchronous, they're asynchronous? Like, can you just describe what that might mean, just in case, again, this may be different for people based on their undergrad experience or where they're at in
Yeah.
their career?
So asynchronous essentially means that you complete the coursework at your own pace. You're working on your own. The professor has set up a robust course shell with directions and assignments and readings and lectures. Some do recordings. If there's some type of certification you're completing, that information is in there. So everything you need to be successful, learn, and complete is within that bright space or a desire to learn course shell. Each week, a professor, depending on the, their structure or their schedule, will post due dates. So you just have to meet the due date. So for instance, I can talk for myself. I try to keep classes Monday through Friday. You can work ahead, right? Because some students can, only have the weekend to complete work. But some students also want their weekend. So my work is all open for the 6 weeks, and you can work as far as you want. But I do have due dates every week. But if you want to complete, week 1 and 2, you can do that. Work ahead. Maybe you have a conference to go to or something going on. So it's very flexible in that sense. And that's how most of the professors work. So you'll have what you're going to learn for that week, and then you'll complete, the assignments based on those due dates. Now you have to keep in mind, and it doesn't mean it's difficult. It's really a time management thing. The work is condensed. So think about it. Traditional school is 14 to 16 weeks. We're doing this in 6 weeks, but I will say this. You're not, how would I say this? You are completing key concepts within a class. Okay, so it's not, you might go through a textbook, but your focus and assignments will be on key business topics. And a lot of times, like I said, it's a lot of applied work, certifications, maybe some papers, some simulations, right? It really comes in a lot of different forms. But please, you have to keep in mind it is over 6 weeks. And I've never said anyone come to me and say, oh, that was terrible. I've had students say, whew, it's over, like that. But they're like, I learned a lot. So it's really a time management thing that you have to think about. And the professors do a great job, making it possible because they understand your work. They understand if you're taking other classes. They understand if you have a family. So that's pretty much the structure of asynchronous online work.
So we have a great question in here from Kate. What is the application process and requirement for someone who is non-traditional and works full time? And actually, so Kate, the process would be the same. You would still be applying, and you would still send the same materials over. And Dr. Maron, do you have anything to add in about the review process?
Yeah, so it's and I know for the process online, you're going to fill out the online application. You'll submit your CV or resume. You have, I think it's 3 letters of recommendation. I know they were going 2 or 3, but you'll need letters of recommendation. Letters of recommendation, I always say, can be anybody, but mom, dad, significant other. It's up to you who you want the letters to be from. And then if you were a student of Commonwealth or Lock Haven, Mansfield, or Bloomsburg, we have your transcript. If not, you would just have your official transcript sent to the university. But as far as being traditional student, I don't even know if that's right today, right? The students are so many different. With traditional today is so different, but you have to ask yourself the main question is how fast you want to finish the degree. That's your main question here. Do you have time to do 4 classes a semester, or should I pace myself with 2 per semester and I finish in 2 years? That's the biggest thing I tell my, more traditional students, if you want to call it that. Do you have the time to do this? Because again, it goes back to that time management. But it's all the same process, whether you're undergrad, whether you just graduated a couple of years ago, or where you've been working in industry for 20 years. It's the same process as far as that.
Thank you. When are applications due and what is the average price of the program? So again, this is actually that I can shed some light on. So applications typically are due around 2 weeks prior to the beginning of the semester you're applying for. So if you're applying for the spring, it would be again 2 weeks prior to the spring semester beginning, for example. The average price of the program, it does depend if you are a Pennsylvania resident or a non-Pennsylvania resident. And one of the tools I am dropping in the chat is our cost calculator. And this is a tool that you can use to be able to say, okay, I live in Pennsylvania or out of Pennsylvania. I plan to take 3 credits or 6 credits or 9 credits. It'll give you an approximation of what you can expect based on your situation. So I just put that in the chat for anyone who's watching the recording. If you go to the MBA website, there's a button about halfway down the page. It's a yellow button that says cost calculator. That's where you can access this. But again, it can be tailored to how many credits you want to take, again, where you're living, what grad program you're planning to enroll in, but all those are options you can personalize there. That is a great question. I will say this, the cost of the Commonwealth U MBA program is going to be extremely competitive. And
Yeah.
the ROI will be very high. I would venture a pretty educated guess to say the cost of our MBA will be as competitive as any school in the region in the tri-state area.
And I have students tell me that too, that our tuition is it's good. The tuition price points. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. What advice do you have for people who have not been to a college class for 10 years and want to get their MBA? That is a tremendous question, Dr. Marion. Do you have anything to add?
I say just do it. Don't worry. I have a lot of you. I have a lot of students that are coming back to school. I just trust me, it's okay. I would say meet with me, talk to me so we can, have a little bit. I would be your advisor anyway. So we would build a relationship. Some students will check in with me weekly, and then after the first semester, like, I got this, others will come and visit me, and then after, a few weeks, like, yeah, don't worry, Dr. Murray, I got this. It's not hard at all. It's fun, it's interesting. um I think I think you have to look at it this way. It's a temporary thing that you do, but it adds so much to the rest of your life in MBA. That's how you have to look at it. So coming in, being out of school for a long time, it's going to take you a few weeks to get into the groove. That's all normal. But usually after those first 6 weeks, you're like, okay, I get what I need to do and what I shouldn't do. So I wouldn't worry. I really truly have students of all ages, all professions, and I have plenty of students that have been out of school for 10, 15, 20 years. I have a doctor right now. She's fabulous. She was a doctor, and I'm not going to say anything about age, but she, retired and everything. She's in here kicking butt right now. I mean, she's doing a wonderful job. And she just emailed me this week, and we're going to meet next week. Hopefully, we're going to pick some classes for her. And she's just pacing herself. She went from 1 class, now she's doing 2. She's thinking about picking up a 3rd next semester. And that's how you do it. You pace yourself. But no, don't worry about things like that.
Yeah, and one of the things too that we will hear often is like, oh man, the classes are online and asynchronous. Like when I was in college, and I can speak personally, when I was a student, that was not really a thing. I graduated
Yeah,
from graduate
no, I
school in
agree.
10, and having classes online was just starting to get
Mhm.
popular, but very, very few schools were doing that at that point. And I understand that can be a little concerning, thinking like, man, I haven't done anything like this before. But honestly, the tools you use in for the MBA program, the D2L, which is the learning management system, and some of the tools you're going to use in the program, oftentimes it is as simple as like using a Google product or using a
Yeah.
Microsoft product, sometimes simpler than that. So if you can use a Google or a Microsoft product, you can use the software programs that we use to facilitate our classes.
I
So
would say if you could use an app on your mobile device, you'll be able to use D2L. It's very, very simple. It's a very, very small learning curve. Even if you do come and stop in, I'll kind of show you around a little bit. And we have wonderful tech support because I know we always have students. And if you're not sure, just tell me and I say, okay, you need to get in touch with this person. and we go from there. But if you could use an app on your phone, you'll have no problem. Office 365, Teams, any of those type of things, you'll be fine.
Dr. Mariani, great question here. What would you consider a typical individual's average time commitment per week for coursework and this is a person who's also a parent and has a full-time job. So basically, as you're looking at the typical course load, let's say 3 credits, 6 credits, how many hours per week are students spending on their courses?
So I get that question a lot, and it's a good question, but it really depends because it it depends what you like and what you don't like. So for me, I'll use myself example. If I had to take an accounting class, I don't know, it would take me several hours a week to complete assignments because that's how I'm made. I'm not that type of person. But give me a leadership class or a digital marketing class, I'm going to move through that content, a lot faster. So I'm going to say typically a week. I don't think I could put a real number to that, but you're going to spend a few hours a week, but every class is different. Like I know the finance class has a little bit more of a workload. And if you're ever planning your schedule, you can come to me. I could say, oh, the law class, I know that's a lot of work, because I know the professors and the students, so I could say to you, if you have a busy schedule that summer, I'll say to you, hey, you might want to just do 2 classes, because that class is going to be a bit of time. But you can look anywhere between 5 to 10 hours a week. But again, it depends, what area is your strong point. It really, really does. If you have a strong point in accounting or finance, you're going to be like, oh, no big deal. But for me, if that was me, I mean, hours, because it's just how my brain is wired. But, you're going to put in several hours a week. Some classes have some good papers. There are simulations and different things like that. But I do not have one student that says it wasn't manageable. I have some that say, whoa, that was a good 6 weeks,
Yes.
but it's manageable. And we have a lot of students working full time, a lot.
I will say I have at least a handful of colleagues that I work with at the university that are all working full-time jobs with
Mhm.
families and are able to manage the work. It is not easy work, but it is worthwhile schoolwork that you're doing. So, and that's the benefit. Again, there's so many things I like about our MBA program, but among the ones I like the most is the flexibility. You can apply for the fall, spring, or the summer. So you can start when it's most convenient for you. You get to have flexible choices of your area of concentration, right? You can pick certain subjects that you're more interested in, be like, I want to do the concentration in accounting or marketing. You have the flexibility of going full-time, of going part-time. You could take 3 credits, you could take 9 credits, depending on like you're maybe in a season of life where I got a lot going on this semester.
Yeah.
Whatever. I have a wedding going on, or, I have a family vacation,
Yeah.
whatever it may be. Like, I'm just going to take 3 credits. But you know what? The
Mhm.
summer, I've got more downtime. I want to take 9,
Mhm.
so you can throttle it back and throttle it forward based on what you have going on. You have the accelerated option, you have the fast track, you have the
Mhm.
professional track. So we've got something basically for everybody. Um, and the coursework again, while hard, it is worthwhile for sure.
Mhm.
And I
You
hope
brought
I.
up a good point about weddings, because I
Mhm.
just had 2 students this fall have to take off the semester and they'll come back in spring. And don't get me wrong, they know they're gonna have to wait an extra semester because classes are only offered spring, those classes specific, but you have up to 5 years to complete the degree. So it's not uncommon for a student to skip half the semester. I had 2 this semester, they were both getting married actually. So, they were doing their thing and they'll be back again in spring. So it's you could finish it real fast 1 year, 2 years, that's the typical, but life happens. You have up to 5 years to complete the degree. So it's like, again, flexible is, I can't say that word enough. It's not like when I was in school, it was much more rigid. Things are different today. So
Yeah.
we understand, the commitments that people have outside of school. I think it's an important part.
Yeah, and I think one of the things too that's great that about the professors teaching in the program, like Dr. Mariani, is that it wasn't that long ago that they were in your shoes. They were the ones doing the MBA while working full time and trying to balance that. And that's one of the bigger differences between graduate school and the undergrad experience is when you're a graduate student, the relationship you have with your faculty members, it's more like colleague to colleague. It's adult to adult kind of thing. And I think, and again, Dr. Mariani, you're really good with this, is like, hey, I understand, again, life happens. You've already said that a handful of times tonight. And again, you've been through this too, right? This was you not that long ago. So you
We
understand.
don't stop learning. We don't stop learning because
Right.
in order to stay current and give you current information to students, we're constantly doing, maybe a bridge program, maybe certifications. I just did 2 certificates at Cornell University, artificial intelligence and research. So we're constantly get it.
Yes.
Trust me, we totally get it.
And I know, Dr. Mariani, one of the questions we get often is the internship. So is that
Yes.
the students who are looking to do their internship, are there any restrictions on where or what they can be doing? Is this something they find on their own? Is it done in consultation with you or their advisor? Can you walk us through the internship identification process?
Yeah, so the internship is a great opportunity. So it's part of the MBA 592, the practicum that has all those different choices. So that class is it's a make it your own class. So if you decide to do the internship, you can do a couple of things. So we let the students usually find everything on their own. Sometimes we'll get opportunities that poke through, but at 99% of the time, they already have an opportunity. So you would just come to me, we would fill out the paperwork. We would just need your supervisor. You answer a couple of questions. We need a copy of what your duties will be and responsibilities. So it's a pretty simple process. Another thing you can do with the MBA practicum is you can work something out with your supervisor, your direct report, and work out a project. So you can technically use your job and work out a special project that your supervisor would sign off on. In other words, they would outline what your responsibilities were. It can't be part of your normal everyday thing. And one thing, I will give you a good example. We had a student about 2 years ago work for Mrs. T's, the pierogies in, I think, Wilkes-Barre over here. And he was in the finance department. And what he did, he developed a special project for waste. It had to do with waste. I can't tell you too much. It was A3 reporting, like setting up an A3 report. But what he did was he worked it out with his direct report and he came out with this wonderful project. And I remember because he left some amazing feedback. And basically, he found ways to help Mrs. T save money on some of the waste that was taking place. So he worked on it over the course of a semester. Your internship could be for 6 weeks or the full 14 weeks. That's up to you, and we would discuss that. And he had a beautiful, project through his employer and they were able to implement some things in real time. So it was really neat opportunity. So you don't have to think of it of just kind of, back in when you were, if you are an undergraduate or when you were an undergraduate, we can really curate that class to do something special that you want to do. And then the next option is obviously the class. You can take the class, and that's usually over the summertime. We offer the full class for that. It's always something neat.
Yes, and I know again that's a great point you made about like yes, if you're working full time, you're thinking, well, my
Yeah.
goodness gracious, how am I going to do an internship at another location while I'm working and have a family and I have all these other things going on? The reality is you would do your internship at your current job. It's just it would need to be something, again, a special project, something different that allows you to apply what you've learned in the MBA curriculum. And honestly, that's one of those situations where you win, your employer wins because they end up getting a great
Yeah.
project. So
Yeah.
it's again, it's kind of a win-win scenario.
And
So
it promotes career advancement too
yes,
for that employer because you start to do something outside of your wheelhouse and they say, wow,
yep,
look at this, so it is a win-win. The MBA practicum is one of my favorite, I'll call it classes, but you have so much choice with it. If you put the time in it and really curate something, you get a lot of value out of it.
yes, yep, absolutely. Okay. Do we have any other questions from the audience? And as we're getting ready to kind of wrap up here, Dr. Mariani, do you have any parting advice for anyone who may be considering the program? Anything you would want to tell them, as far as what
Well,
they should be considering?
yeah, I mean, I think we're in a really good environment right now for education, especially advanced education like an MBA. I think we're going to see a big shift in business in general across, all different fields. So I think an MBA right now is a great choice. Again, it's something that you can pace yourself with this program, so you could go full throttle where you can, take your time to complete it. And I think if you really have some deep questions or want more reflection on it, the best thing is to, send me an email. I'll send you back my office hours and stuff, and we can get together and chat. But it's definitely I feel it's a win-win. But that here I'll give you a good example. So when I got my terminal degree, I didn't get a PhD. I got a DBA. So Master's of Business Administration. I got a Doctorate of Business Administration. And it has never let me down, both in industry or academia. So it's just something to think about. It definitely they're different types of degree. When people see you have those two degrees, they know they're applied application.
Well, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us tonight. We really appreciate your time. If you have any questions, or if you need any help, please do not hesitate to reach out to Dr. Mariani or myself. We work for you, and we're happy to do so. So we look forward to hearing from everybody in the future, and hope everyone has a wonderful night. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, everybody. Nice meeting everybody too.